Hi, I'm John Hewlett, and I wanted today to take a minute in a very informal setting and discuss why Cardio Miracle has delivered such a significant improvement in nitric oxide signaling. You know, a number of years ago, and again, pardon the informality of this, we just finished our very exciting Health Liberty Symposium. I've been going around the clock, and so this was just kind of an opportunity that's come up several times in the last couple of weeks where people have asked me, knowing that I spent several years with Synergy and the Nature Sunshine product ProArgi9, which had a profound impact on my life, and also the emergence of Neo 40, the NeoGenis product that came out a couple years after ProArgi9 and has made quite an impact because they're really good marketers and they've been able to effectively use the internet and some doctor channels, and not being in an MLM, they've been able to take advantage of some of the marketplace. So today, just my opinion, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a PhD, not a physiologist, just a person who for the last 10 years has been consumed and obsessed with learning all I could about nitric oxide from the smartest people in the world. At the same time, I've had a chance to explore the different aspects and been involved for a couple of years, day and night, looking at ingredients and why different formulations work better than others. So this is my opinion. This is not in any way to put others down, because in my opinion, any nitric oxide is good nitric oxide. But just like anything else, there's good, better, best. And you can have the finest manufacturing facility in the country, but if you're still making Volkswagens, you're making Volkswagens. If you have a Mercedes, you obviously want to have a Mercedes factory. But everything's different, and I have not personally gone down to Austin, Texas. I have not reviewed where NeoGenis has their manufacturing done. I have read extensively interviews and different information that they put out. They put out great information. They're really, really good marketers. I would compare them a little bit to, they've become the doTERRA of certain ways of essential oils. Like Young Living kind of started a lot of the essential oils, but doTERRA has taken marketing to kind of a new level. Well, NeoGenis has kind of done that in the world of nitric oxide, as opposed to just being a traditional knockoff on the internet, which there's about 40 other companies that have nitric oxide from that. So I have a high regard for NeoGenis' ideas and their marketing, and I certainly have a high regard for ProArgi9 because that's the product that led me on this path myself. So I'm a fan of all three products. Obviously I'm prejudiced because I've spent the better part of the last couple of years working on the formula of Cardio Miracle. So today we're going to talk about what some of the differences are. It may be less than scientific, it's just my opinion, but I wanted to explain some of the differences. Now you got to pardon my eyesight because my eyesight isn't the best, but NeoGenis, for example, is a lozenge, and you put it in under your tongue and it approaches your nitric oxide pathway through the sublingual pathway that essentially comes by mixing it with your saliva over a period of time, and then it signals nitric oxide. The primary ingredients of this is vitamin C, vitamin B, and then they have beetroot powder, and then they have hawthorn berry, which is a great ingredient, L-citrulline, and this last one's a sodium something or other. And then it has other ingredients that talks, a little magnesium and some cellulose, some things to hold it together. It has some stevia for flavoring. The premier ingredients of the Neo 40 is citrulline and beetroot. Now it's interesting because they spend a lot of their marketing talking about that they are the anti-arginine, and that the arginine becomes an issue in the fact that people over 40, they claim, have reduced receptibility to arginine. That's true to some extent, but when I had my life-changing effect with ProArgi9, which is an arginine-based product with citrulline, which becomes arginine, so citrulline becomes arginine, I had a tremendous benefit. I mean, it saved my life. So I don't buy into the idea that anyone over 40 doesn't get a benefit from an arginine product. I don't believe that. But they made a good point in that there's another pathway. And the two products primarily that deal with those other pathways is Kayani has a drop that's made from, I believe it's the noni plant, and then Neo 40, which has been quite successful. I'm sure they're certainly outselling ProArgi9 in the United States dramatically, which is unfortunate because ProArgi9 is a great product. But NeoGenis has done a great job of marketing to doctors and practitioners, dentists, and to the public through very expensive web marketing, but because they're not a network marketing company, that's how they do it. So essentially the difference between NeoGenis or the Neo 40 product and Cardio Miracle is we believe in the sublingual pathway and in beetroot. We've put the finest organic beet powders in ours. They have beetroot powder. Ours is organic beetroot powder, is the finest in the world. Now I know at some point they've had discussions with our powder people, but our powders are really expensive. So I don't think they have organic powders because they don't talk about it. And I don't think they have the same caliber of beetroot, but they have beetroot, and they've built an entire argument around how important beetroot is to signaling nitric oxide. They are right. Spinach also does that. So does kale. There's a number of good vegetables that signal nitric oxide. They create that, but then they've backed theirs up with citrulline. They promoted themselves as the anti-arginine company, but citrulline becomes arginine. So there's a little bit of a stretch of the marketing imagination there by talking all the time about that they're the anti-arginine when citrulline becomes arginine. So that's kind of interesting. They do have far less beetroot powder than our organic beetroot powder, and they have far less citrulline than we have. And I'm not sure the hawthorn berry, which is an extender, it helps the uptake of nitric oxide. So that's good. But the reality is, for the money, you're paying an awful lot for a single pathway product with, in my opinion, not the finest beetroot, not the best quantity or enough beetroot, and who knows how much citrulline it is. It's in their proprietary blend. And I know what ours is because, I helped put it in there. And the hawthorn berry is good. So very few ingredients, nice delivery. Then they promote the saliva sticks that you can, strips that basically tell you how much nitric oxide. Well, of course, if you've been, sticking a lozenge in your mouth and then you put a nitric oxide strip, you're going to get a pretty good reading from that. So there's a little bit of marketing there and a little bit of bashing arginine as being bad, which it isn't bad. The Nobel Prize was based upon arginine and citrulline and the nitric oxide effect of that. So a little bit of trying to carve out themselves as the anti-arginine, the over 40, they're the medically validated, when the research in the nitrate-nitrite channel is a smidge compared to the thousands, tens of thousands of articles written about arginine, citrulline, and the nitric oxide effect generated through the gut and signaling in the arterial wall, the endothelium by arginine. So good marketing, good product, does increase nitric oxide, does help, obviously heal, particularly in the upper extremities. They do their thermography testing and it shows that there is a nitric oxide effect, essentially from the shoulders up. I'm sure there's a complete body-wide nitric oxide effect. I don't think it's anything in comparison to what Cardio Miracle can create, but we're going to be testing that someday head to head. We're very comfortable with that. We know what's in ours. I can see what's in theirs, and I know that we create more nitric oxide on a sustained basis because our ingredients are superior and in greater quantities, and in a lot of things we're adding. We have 50 ingredients. They have, maybe 10. So we think we've got the complete nitric oxide solution because we approach the nitric oxide pathway through the traditional arginine citrulline in the most effective way, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then we also do it through the sublingual, which they have made their entire product marketing around. We do both, and we think we do both of them better than both products put together. So that's the part of NeoGenis and Cardio Miracle. And it's expensive, but that's because they're spending a boatload of money on advertising and marketing. ProArgi9. I've been accused by some of my former colleagues that I'm, trying to bash ProArgi9. I'm not bashing ProArgi9. I still have some. And when I run out of single serves or before I had my latest product manufactured, I took this every day. I think it's a great product. I think it's very similar to having an IBM computer versus today having an iPad. I think it's like having a cell phone, a nice flipped cell phone, versus having a Samsung or an i6 or 7 or whatever they are. People who know me know I'm not very technical. But the reality is ProArgi9, when it was developed, was the finest product on earth. My challenge was it wasn't improved, and it hasn't been improved. Now, there's a couple of things about ProArgi9, and obviously I learned a lot from my experience with ProArgi9 and have a value it. And whenever people ask me about it, I say, it's a great product. Now, NeoGenis makes a big argument against ProArgi9 because it's arginine and citrulline. That's its entire story. And interesting enough, the amount of citrulline in ProArgi9 isn't very substantial comparatively. A lot of the later knockoffs of the ProArgi9 that came all over the internet, Arginine Complete, Arginex that Dr. Siva did with some other people, they had more arginine, more citrulline. We took the approach after doing a lot of research, and one of the people that I consulted with over the years, or at least learned, not consulted, but learned from, was Rainer Boger, a wonderful scientist and doctor who was actually on the Synergy Advisory Board. And Dr. Boger, in his testing, determined that it was really important to maintain nitric oxide for the longest period of time at the highest levels. Not to spike high and then decline, but to try to get it up and keep it up for a long period of time, that nitric oxide level. So Dr. Boger's belief was having more citrulline that converts to arginine was actually more important than having more grams of arginine. That's his theory. I happen to believe that as I've examined the science. So instead of having 5 grams, we chose not to have 5 grams, but instead of having a lower amount of citrulline, we had a higher amount of citrulline because that converts over time. So it becomes more of a time release aspect. I'm sure that as people do their research and their studying, they'll come to the same conclusions. Now, there's lots of different types of arginine. There's AKG, there is HCl, there's what some people call pharmaceutical grade. Well, any quality manufacturer is going to have a high quality pharmaceutical grade free-form type of arginine. Maybe AAKG, it may be HCl. There are advantages to both. The AKG or the AAKG, however it's determined, has been shown to be a little more absorbable and has been able to create a little more nitric oxide. One of the complaints that Dr. Siva had that he told me personally was on the ProArgi9s, he asked the company several years ago to put in estrogen. The competitors put in estrogen. What is estrogen? Estrogen is a special ingredient made by a company in the Far East, and it's astragalus root and panax ginseng. There is documented medical studies that it improves the nitric oxide uptake or absorption by, some say, as high as 40 to 60%. It's an expensive ingredient. It's a fractionated herbal molecule that's very expensive. As I did the research, it was imperative because the most important thing was not how much arginine you had or what your spike was originally of nitric oxide, which actually can become toxic or oxidative in nature if you're not careful. And both products have adequate B12, which helps, take away the oxidative issue of arginine or nitric oxide becoming a free radical. We do as well. So we all three have adequate vitamin B12 in order to be able to scavenge up excess nitric oxide. So it's never toxic. So all three of these great products, and they all are really good products, have adequate B12, which helps prevent nitric oxide from being created in such extreme that it becomes oxidative. So Dr. Boger and others, we've determined that high quality arginine, citrulline, higher levels, higher ratio, our ratio happens to be 3:1. The ProArgi9, I believe, could be wrong, is about 6 or 8:1. And who knows what NeoGenis is because it doesn't have arginine in it, but it has citrulline. So the 3:1 ratio seems to be, according to some of the people I've talked to, the ideal ratio. So we wanted to have the most citrulline that would become arginine over a period of time instead of just spiking as much as possible with 5 grams of arginine. So Cardio Miracle has, we believe, the most absorbable arginine, the AKG. It has the best ratio of citrulline that becomes arginine to extend the nitric oxide effect. It has adequate and substantial B12, which helps scavenge it up, but we also added the estrogen. The estrogen is a very expensive ingredient, but it's essential to extending the nitric oxide for a longer period of time, which does the greatest job in helping to improve the inflammatory condition and healing the endothelial wall. Now, Nature Sunshine has developed the Hughes Center for Research. I hope in their research they spend their time figuring out adding estrogen to ProArgi9 instead of figuring out that arginine works. We already knew that. We knew that 15 years ago. So I kind of look at the research and I think, great, you've got the best lab in the world or whatever. I hope you get on and move to how much citrulline and how important that is, how important estrogen is and other things. I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying, if you've got the science, work on the science that's really important, which is the cutting edge or the breakthrough of the future product. One of the challenges and interesting things, I'm not a PhD. I don't claim to be as smart as the staff or the medical doctors or directors at a great company like Nature Sunshine. But I remember 7 years ago having a very spirited debate with Synergy Management over whether or not sucralose was a bad thing. I personally didn't care. But I had a lot of people who cared about sucralose, and they said, we're not going to take a product that has sucralose in it. I was definitively told by management, who are you, dumb John Hewlett, former insurance man, telling us what sucralose does or doesn't do when the head of Nature Sunshine's lab is a PhD from Stanford, smartest man in the Intermountain West. He thinks sucralose is fine. And I said, I don't care if he thinks it's fine or not. The people want stevia or monk fruit or a natural sweetener. And frankly, one of the problems that we ended up having was, so we fought that battle. I led that fight. And ultimately, they put stevia in the product and, whoa, magic. 70% of the business became stevia-based within a very short period of time. I don't know, maybe there's a great argument you can still make about sucralose. I happen to like the sucralose flavored ProArgi9 better than the mixed berry, personally. So, and I obviously have enough other physical issues that a little bit of sucralose isn't going to kill me. But the bottom line is the market has demanded stevia, monk fruit, and other types, erythritol, those types of things as sweeteners in the product. So again, my issue is you cannot have a product in today's market that hasn't been improved since you changed the flavor from mixed berry to grape, which was the last change, and then added monk fruit, and then charged it a little bit more. Monk fruit's great. It's really a hard sweetener to work with, but it's in this particular formula. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And stevia is a good thing. Now, there's also issues with all sweeteners, but arginine and hawthorn and turmeric and all these things taste terrible. And so one of the challenges, the biggest challenge I've had in the last year or two, was coming up with a flavoring profile that could make it palatable. So essentially, the ProArgi9 product doesn't have estrogen. It doesn't have certain other extenders that I believe are important to extend the nitric oxide. It has a lower ratio of citrulline, and it does approach the one channel that NeoGenis is telling everybody that they can tell is not the best, which is the arginine channel for people over 40. I don't agree completely, but they are partially right. But they've taken a partial truth and tried to make it an absolute. There is no such thing. The reality is ProArgi9 works great for people over 40. It works great for people over 80. Now, some people have arginine resistance or ADMA. If they do, they're not going to get as good a results with a single pathway product, particularly the arginine, because it's a resistance to the arginine process. We've tried to overcome that with our cutting edge formula in Cardio Miracle. So again, I wanted to give people a view. I hope that Synergy, for the sake of their great distributors, many of which are my dear friends, will take some leadership and in the MLM world, because I'm not interested in that world, in the MLM world and improved this product and put in estrogen and put in a better ratio of citrulline and extend more hawthorn berry and other things that will help this actually be more effective. But 5 years ago, this was the state of the art. 3 years ago, it was the state of the art. Today, I think this is the state of the art. Why? Because we approach both pathways. We approach both pathways with more active ingredients than both of these in the way that we approach it. So how do we do that? We put in organic beet, carrot, and coconut water, the finest powders in the world, dried at below 105 degrees to maintain 105, over 90% of their nutritional value and their enzyme value. That's what we flavored it with. Why did we do that? Because we wanted the beet, now not that everyone loves beets, but the beet with the carrot, with the coconut, with the adequate erythritol, and with the stevia, which we use taste stevia, which is the most expensive, best stevia you can buy. We put that in to try to reduce the aftertaste of stevia. We eliminated the xylitol, which has caused many people's diarrhea. We had a lot of explaining to do with the xylitol. But so the reality is we went with erythritol because erythritol has less gastrointestinal and is proven to be the best of the sugar alcohols. Now, we also have, in this particular version, organic cane sugar. But we only have 3 grams of organic cane sugar. It only is like 10 calories, but it tastes natural and it tastes great. So this particular version of Cardio Miracle has organic cane sugar, stevia, and erythritol, but less stevia. The other Cardio Miracle, Tropical Abundance, as well, has more stevia and no cane sugar. So our diabetics and people, thank you. So this is Tropical Abundance. These are available both in these very expensive black canisters, which are used to help protect the amino acids instead of an inexpensive white canister, and then in the single serve deliveries, which are most convenient for people. Same ingredients, same formula. This one has stevia and erythritol. This one has cane sugar, stevia, less stevia, and erythritol. So, what else does Cardio Miracle have to make it separate from the crowd? It approaches the pathway of the nitrate-nitrite pathway through superior beet powder, superior citrulline, hawthorn berry, and estrogen, as well as a few other things. The arginine side is highest absorbable arginine, AKG, highest ratio of citrulline of all the competitors, the same or the highest of the competitors. Also, again, the estrogen and the hawthorn berry, and a very, very ample amount of red grapeseed extract, as well as some resveratrol, which the antioxidants are important. I'm not sure, I haven't counted them, it's been a while, I've had too many other things to do, but in the proprietary blend of this, ProArgi9, it has vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin K, B6, folic acid, vitamin B12, all great. We have more B12, I'm not sure if we have a little less vitamin D. We believe ours absorbs higher, but the vitamin D in here is great. We have actually a little more vitamin C, and we also get vitamin C from our powders. Then it has pomegranate fruit juice extract, which is a nice ingredient, citrulline, D-ribose, grapeseed extract, which we have, and red wine extract. And then the other ingredients here, it's hard to see, citric acid, grape flavors, silicon dioxide, and monk fruit. Monk fruit's a great sweetener. So you have in ProArgi9 like 15 ingredients or so, maybe 18. Cardio Miracle has over 50. It's the most expensive nitric oxide product I've ever seen anywhere in the world. We approach both pathways with essentially a Mercedes. Some may call it a Ferrari. So our manufacturer is one of the finest. Some people have told me they believe it's in the top 10 as far as integrity, testing, and quality. Is it as good as Nature's Sunshine? Probably not, even though I know that they have made products for Nature's Sunshine in the past. Our manufacturing facility makes products for all of the top pharmaceutical companies, most of the top network marketing companies, and they have told me personally They have never made a sophisticated, high-quality product as this product. They even have members of their management team that are now taking this product and had very remarkable results. So what else do we have in this product? The organic powders, which are second to none. That gives you nutrition. So it's not only the best nitric oxide delivery, it's actually a health drink because you're getting organic coconut, organic carrot, and organic beet. Beet and carrot have been shown to improve the diabetic condition. So a lot of people who are diabetic stay away from carrot and stay away from beet because of the natural sugars and vitamins in there. You don't have to worry about that in Cardio Miracle. Of course, always depend on your physician for advice. But the reality is the studies and the research have shown that beet and carrot are helpful to the diabetic condition. We have seen dramatic benefits to the people suffering from neuropathy and those types of things because of the delivery of nitric oxide, we believe, through both pathways. So you're getting a substantial extended nitric oxide through the gut with the arginine and citrulline. So you get a great delivery of the nitric oxide to the system, to the cellular or the capillary wall through the arginine and citrulline ratio, the hawthorn berry, the estrogen, the grapeseed extract, all of these wonderful antioxidants. But then you also get the nitrite channel with the beetroot, watermelon extract. I didn't even mention watermelon extract. We have watermelon extract as well in the nitrate pathway in order to facilitate, because watermelon extract is, guess what? Citrulline. It becomes citrulline, which becomes arginine again. So we saturate the cell and the signaling process of the nitric oxide dual pathway with all of this citrulline that ultimately turns to arginine, which continues to signal nitric oxide, all this beetroot powder that's organic, that's also signaling the nitric oxide, the hawthorn berry, the panax ginseng, and the astragalus root, which is extending the nitric oxide effect. And then in addition to that, we've added turmeric and the hardest ingredient of all for me to pronounce, the astaxanthin, which are great anti-inflammatories. We have all of this in this one product. We have people every day scrutinizing our label and saying, how in the world do you have all of this in a product? And we know that it's in the product because we're dealing with the highest caliber pharmaceutical grade manufacturing that you can get in the United States. They're at the top level and they've done it for the best people. And they say this is the finest product at the spare no expense that they've ever manufactured, and we're delivering it at less money per serving than these other products. Less per serving, and we have, in many cases, twice, 3 times, 4 times the active ingredients that create nitric oxide. That's why we say it's the Cardio Miracle. That's why, what's a miracle? A miracle is something extraordinary that you can't really explain. Well, nitric oxide to me is a miracle. So that's why we decided, what the heck, we'll call it what it is. It's a miracle. Saved my life. Nitric oxide saved my life. It was delivered by ProArgi9. People are having good results with some of their gums and their teeth and their thermography in their brain because of the sublingual aspect of beetroot powder and citrulline. Citrulline's in here too. Even though they attack arginine, they still have citrulline, which becomes arginine. Kind of interesting. We have both. And why do we have both? Because we want to saturate the cell with nitric oxide. 2 very interesting research studies over the last couple of years. University of Florida Medical said the nitric oxide is the spark of life in the cell. The spark of life. How profound is that? We believe delivering nitric oxide is the spark. And that's why we have people who never get sick. We're delivering therapeutic vitamin D. We're delivering the B vitamins. People are having less cravings, less addictive behavior. We're seeing results in all kinds of things because we're saturating the cell with nitric oxide, which was called by medical groups when it was discovered and won the Nobel Prize as the miracle molecule. The miracle molecule. And we're saturating the cell in most cases for $1.30, $1.35, $1.50 with the single serves, which is very expensive. The most expensive container practically you can buy outside of glass to be able to provide our product in, and we're doing it direct to the people. And then we also have our customer rewards, which allows you frequent buyers that you get a discount in the future for being a customer and having life-changing, life-altering nitric oxide every day. We had someone on our customer call today who said, I've been able to replace most of the supplements in my cupboard. Well, the reason is supplements in many cases have been fraudulent. They don't meet the label claims. That's why quality companies like Nature's Sunshine have always produced great products, because they have integrity with their ingredients. The challenge is you got to step up and get with the cutting research. The research says estrogen helps extend nitric oxide. The research says more citrulline is important. The research says erythritol is a better sweetener than xylitol because you don't have the gastrointestinal issues. The research tells us that if you're delivering nitric oxide, why don't you put in turmeric, one of the greatest anti-inflammatories? Why don't you put in white bark extract, which is the basis active ingredient of pycnogenol, one of the great items. All of these things are in Cardio Miracle to be able to be delivered to the cell, essentially eliminating probably 80 to 90% of your supplement cabinet, all in one health drink that we think the Tropical Abundance tastes great. You can mix it with any fruit, you can mix it with any vegetable juice. We just recommend that you don't take it immediately with protein. We believe you take it twice a day. Dr. Boger and other people's research says that nitric oxide can last for up to 36 hours, but it's severely diminished. So if you're trying to increase the light or the spark of life in your cell, if you're trying to increase the strength of your immune system, why don't you want to have 12 hours straight of the highest level of maintained nitric oxide and then renew it for another 12 hours? That's why people are having such remarkable results on the Cardio Miracle dual pathway delivery with all of these other wonderful vitamins, minerals, and ingredients in the formula. And these organic powders, which is like going to Whole Foods and having them juice you up some fresh juice at the same time in a small quantity. But that adds to the integrity, and nitric oxide delivers everything to the cell better. We've had vitamin D levels have dramatic improvement, and that's why people like Brian and Anna Marie Clement from the Hippocrates Institute, they take Cardio Miracle. That's why Ty Bollinger, The Truth About Cancer, he takes Cardio Miracle. That's why Greg and Steve Anderson, the founders of the Crown Council Dental Group, that's why they take Cardio Miracle. That's why G. Edward Griffin, one of the great political patriots of our time, takes Cardio Miracle. They have all seen the personal benefits in numerous ways that dual pathway nitric oxide delivers to them. Brad Nelson of the Emotion Code. Ken Shelton, author, co-author with Stephen Covey. He's had dramatic improvement in his health on Cardio Miracle. We're seeing the testimonials come in. We invite people who have used these other great products to see if they want to upgrade their cell phone to the latest technology, or put pressure on your manufacturer to give you more bang for the buck as the research has changed. That's great. We're all for nitric oxide in all of these forms. It's certainly better than pharmaceutical drugs. I have the highest regard for what they're doing. They're raising the awareness. This isn't about bashing. This is just the facts are the facts. And the reality is a person should try the product and see for themselves. You don't need to believe me. Do the research. Take the test. Try it yourself. And if you do that, you'll be able to see that the dual pathway delivery of Cardio Miracle is the finest formulated delivery of nitric oxide that has ever occurred on Earth. And our commitment is we will never rest as long as we can improve it. Oh, and I forgot. We've also put fiber in it to be able to extend the nitric oxide effect in the gut. That was one of our latest additions. We've improved the formula about 5 times in the last 12 months. And the quest never ends, because in order to give you the best value for your money and the greatest nitric oxide experience, we are totally committed to providing the finest delivery of what we believe and what Case Western Medical Center, the second medical group I was going to mention, a year ago determined that nitric oxide was the missing element being identified in the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the cell. The missing gas they identified as nitric oxide. What does that mean? That means when you have too much carbon dioxide, you have mutated cells. What does mutated cells lead to? The dreaded C word. Nitric oxide helps keep the cells healthy, whole. It helps keep the blood viscosity smooth and slippery. It helps heal the arterial wall from inflammation and stickiness and clogging. And it allows the cell wall to be stronger, have more strength, but to thin so that these wonderful 50 nutrients can be absorbed directly into the cell. I don't think there's anything like it else on earth. I invite you to try it, test it. Check your numbers, get your blood work done, check your vitamin D level, and see the miracle that hundreds and now thousands of people are now experiencing with the Cardio Miracle. Thanks for being with us.